Hi everyone. Oh, am I on? Hey guys, Meg Smith, the Hypnotic Dietitian here, coming to you again from our warm caravan. I hope you're all having a good January. Some of you are probably still on holidays. I went back to work this week, so I went back on Wednesday and then I drove back for the day yesterday because I left my computer charger at home, so I've been back a couple of times now. Thanks for joining. If you're joining live, let me know if you've got any questions. Today I was going to talk about some label reading for breakfast cereals. So I've had a couple of this time of year people who don't normally eat cereal or things like that tend to want to feel like something a bit lighter around this time of year. So even if people don't normally have cereals, I find now is the time that I get more questions on it. What we're looking for is anything whole grain, pretty much. So if you read the ingredients, and I'll go through this in a minute, but if you look at the ingredients, and the first ingredient is a whole grain cereal, and it's more than 50% of a whole grain cereal, chances are I'd keep reading. That gives you a good indication that this potentially could be something that is nourishing, good for your gut, and also good for your blood sugars and sustained energy, which is what we want to get out of the first meal of the day. So because I condensed things here, I didn't have a lot of cereal boxes. I've got two, and I thought I'd use these to compare. So I've got Jordan's low sugar granola and cornflakes, and then I've also got porridge, which doesn't have a list on it, but I can pretty much tell you what's in it. And this, I grabbed this at Aldi ages ago, and I've had one, and it was, oh sorry Facebook, you can't see it, I was looking at Instagram there. And I never say this right, but an acai breakfast bowl. So once you learn this, it's pretty simple. Once you know what you're looking for. Sorry, it's very hot here. So what I'll do is start with cornflakes. Let me know if you also comment, if you want to comment, let me know. I'll just check Facebook to see if there's any comments. Let me know if you already do this or any cereals that you have that you might work out in your pantry. And I always say to people, start in your pantry, don't start at the supermarket, because there's way too many options and it can get really overwhelming. So all the health claims on the front have to be supported by what's on the label. So if it says with essential nutrients, iron, zinc, B vitamins and folate, which means that those four things have to actually be listed on the ingredients panel down here. The only things by Australian law that have to be listed on the ingredients list are energy, protein, fat, total and saturated, carbohydrates with sugars, and sodium. They are the only things that have to be listed on a label. Most breakfast cereals will also list dietary fibre now. And that's because most people want to be able to know how much fibre is in something, because we've sort of cottoned on to the whole idea that that's what we should be having. We should be having high fibre breakfast cereals, and if we're eating a grain, we want that grain to be based high in fibre. So most breakfast cereal boxes have become pretty good at putting that on there. The first thing, then you've also got the ingredients list. So let's see, yep. So you can see ingredients at the top there. I hope this isn't backwards on the screens. An ingredients list is usually going to be close to the nutrition panel. In an ingredients list, the component of the food that is in there in the highest quantity or the highest concentration is always going to be listed first. So remember that if the first listed ingredient is a whole grain cereal or something that is whole grain, and that is the first thing on there, you can guarantee that that has to be the most prominent ingredient within that particular cereal. So from memory, Vitabrits I think are 98 or 99% whole grain wheat, and then there's a little bit of salt. I can't even remember. I haven't looked at a Vitabrits label for a really long time. Cornflakes, you can see here, I hope you can see, cornflakes are 90% corn. So that corn, and I said this to somebody yesterday, when you look at a cornflake, I'm going to get one out because this is funny. Does that look like a piece of corn? Does that look like what corn looks like anymore? So, how do they get corn into cornflakes? It has to be dried out, blended down, and then moulded into a certain shape, and then baked and mixed with salt, sugar, barley malt extract, and then vitamins and minerals are added in as well. So, even though corn is 90% listed on here, it's not in its original form. There's lots of processing that has had to go on to be able to get that to look like an actual cornflake flake. So looking at that, and also the fact that sugar and salt are so high up in the ingredients list, generally I would say this is not an everyday breakfast cereal. The next thing I would look at is the sugar content and the salt content, and salt, sugar, and fibre content. So, and they've actually improved this over the years, and that would probably be from the barley as well being in there. If we look at the carbohydrate content, we would expect that to be really high because the main things in this particular food is corn, which is a main source of carbohydrate. So there's 84% carbohydrates per 100 gram. Of that, 8.9 grams per 100 gram is sugar. So sugar's a bit tricky in breakfast cereals because often we have added fruits and things in there. If we're adding fruit, I would expect the sugar content to be higher. I'd also then expect the fibre content to be higher as well because we should be getting fibre from the fruit that might be listed in there. In this case, we know from the ingredients list that there is no fruit in there. So we know that pretty much most of the sugar that is coming from, or that is listed here, is going to be coming from probably added sugars. If you look at corn being 90%, there's only 10% left, and sugar and salt. Sugar's the second listed ingredient, so I would expect that there would probably be a couple of, mostly probably between 5 to 9% sugar in there as well. The next one we want is dietary fibre. So a food that has more than 5%, so 5 grams per 100 grams of fibre is pretty good. If you can get them up there around the 10 grams per 100 gram, even better. Above 10, and that's amazing. So we'll have a look at the Jordans now, low sugar granola. This is very similar to what I make, except mine's got a whole lot more nuts in it. And the dietary fibre in this is 8.6 grams per 100 gram. And the sugar content in this is 3.2 grams per 100 grams. So there's much less sugar. And we can have a look. This also has, there's actually no sugar on the ingredients list. It is must be coming from the freeze-dried blueberries and whatever might be naturally occurring in whole grain oat flakes. Because on the ingredients list there is no added sugars. I know Instagram will be able to see this pretty well. If I can get it up there properly. Facebook might be a bit blurry. So, also, if it says low sugar, it actually, this one actually also says less than 5% sugar. So that's a really easy way to compare because they've made that that claim on the front. If something says low sugar though, it's low sugar compared to what? It could be compared to something that's 100% sugar. They don't actually have to tell you anything about it if it just says low sugar. So don't trust the words on the front. Make sure that you have a look at the back. Now, breakfast cereals, I would be aiming for less than 10 grams of sugar per 100 gram if there is no fruit in it. If there's fruit, then it can go up to sort of 15 to 20 grams per 100 gram. The dried fruit I'm talking about. Personally, I also recommend that you should probably be adding fresh fruit because dried fruit that's already packaged is a bit hard to quantify, and it's a little bit harder to, you have no control over how much is going in there. So whereas if you're adding your own blueberries or your own apricots or whatever it might be, you can control how much is going in there, so you know how many serves of fruit you've had for that day. This is one that when I haven't made my own granola, this is one that I would go for. And this is the other go-to. So porridge is always going to be best if you can make it from scratch from the whole traditional oats. I don't always have 20 minutes to stand at a stove stirring porridge in the mornings though. So this particular one, and I don't have the box because like I said I've condensed everything to make room. is, from memory, it's the black box with a green label on it. Natural, 5 grain and seed, super seed almonds. So it says very high in whole grain. Again, it is very high in whole grains, but it doesn't tell you how much. Very high compared to what. There is a little star there, so let's have a look. If there is a star on the front, it has to relate to something that they're talking about as well over the back. So this says, and the star on the back actually says, contains on average 36 grams of whole grain per serve, which is actually quite a lot. So from memory, the fibre content for this would be, I'm pretty sure it's about potentially 15 grams per 100 gram, might even be more. The other thing is also no added sugar. So if they say that on the front, you absolutely cannot have sugar listed in the ingredients list. This, unfortunately, because it's the individual sachet, doesn't have the ingredients list here, but there is only in here whole grain traditional oats, and then 5 different seeds and grains. That was, and then there might have been an emulsifier in there potentially. So another good one. And this all started because I had a client ask me, "Hi Carter, found your Rubik's Cube." I had a client ask me about, and I'm just going to bring it up, a breakfast cereal from Woolworths, and it's a Woolworths branded one, and now it's not working. And it's called Great Start. Now, I might be because of this. I'm going to post this in the comments, this particular breakfast cereal, so you know what I'm talking about. But this particular one is, oh, why is that fuzzy? It's a bit hard to do this without a stand. So this particular breakfast cereal has 40, it says on the front, 40% reduced sugar. Oh, I shouldn't do that either. Oh, what have I done here? Hang on, everyone. Bear with me. 40% reduced sugar, Great Start, 5 grains and seeds. So on the ingredients list, there is 22% whole grain oats, 18% corn, 8% sunflower seeds, 6% wheat, and then the next ingredient is brown sugar. So there's, I've added it up before, 54% grains or wheat, grains and seeds, sorry, and then we get to the sugar. So then if we have a look up at how much sugar there is, actually I just want to double check. It says 40% reduced sugar, so we need to then be asking the question, reduced from what? 40% compared to what? Their previous one and a different one in the same range, another very high sugar cereal. So whenever we're looking at percentages, it's a good idea to check what they're comparing it to. Alright, so here there is 9.9 grams of sugar per 100 grams, so it falls within that less than 10 grams of sugar per 100. And then if we look at the ingredients list, there is, after the brown sugar, we've got pepitas, canola oil, wholemeal wheat flour, rice pops, barley. There is no, they've got added fibre in there, buckwheat. There's another, maltodextrin is another word for sugar too. If you ever see maltodextrin on a ingredients list, that's basically sugar. There is no fruit in there, so we definitely want it below that 10 grams of sugar per 100 gram. And then the sodium content's pretty low, it's 130 per 100 gram, which is good. Dietary fibre, that's what I was looking for, 10 grams per 100 grams, so that's a very high fibre product. So this Great Start cereal from Woolworths is a good one. The next thing that we should be talking about when we talk about breakfast cereals is how much to have. So generally, you don't want to be having 2 giant cups of cereal. You know, you don't. Generally, it should be less than a handful, less than about 1 handful, which should be maybe half to 3/4 of a cup is 1 serve of cereal. We don't need a lot more. We've got to look at what else we're getting from that breakfast. So if you're just having some, well, cornflakes are a good one, and these are we're on holidays, so my kids get cornflakes if they want them. Generally, and on here it says the serving size is 1 cup. I wouldn't recommend having 1 full cup of cereal. You can also see here, they're obviously trying to make it healthier. So it looks like there's that acai bowl underneath with a couple of flakes of cornflakes plus fruit and other things. So you're not just getting cornflakes and milk for breakfast there, which is what their serving suggestion is as well, or inspiration is as well. So we want to try and make sure that we're getting a serve of protein, a serve of whole grains with fibre, and then potentially a serve of fruit if you can. Personally, what I have is a couple of scoops of Greek yogurt, a sprinkle of this on for crunch, and then some berries, and I had apricot on there this morning as well. So I'm getting the protein from the yogurt, the fibre and grains for sustained energy from this, and then the fibre and the antioxidants from the berries and the fruit as well. Now this one is a little bit harder to analyse. So what it says on the back here, recipe suggestion, is mixing it with almond milk, adding half a sachet of this, and then a banana and blend it all with a banana, so it makes like a smoothie, which you could either drink or have out of a bowl to scoop up. So the ingredients list here is acai berry, and please correct me or send me a message on how to say this, please. Acai berry powder, psyllium husk. Psyllium husk is actually the ingredient in Metamucil. It's a fibre that we don't really digest, but it's very, very good for your gut health. It's also extremely good for cardiovascular health. So I often recommend people who come to see me for cholesterol lowering diet, psyllium husk is one of the first things that I recommend. It's also very good for people with diabetes because it can help to slow down, any added fibre is going to help to slow down the digestion and absorption of sugars as well. Next is dried strawberry powder, ground linseed, sunflower seed, almond meal, and an acidity regulator. So, is there any added sugar in this? No. Whatever the sugar is coming from that acai berry powder. And if we look at the sugars in here, 0.2 grams. There's nearly none. Less than 1 gram per 100 gram. Just for reference as well, 5 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. And the fibre content per 100 gram is 31 grams per 100, so that's huge. Not that you would be having 100 grams, but it gives you an idea that most of 30% of this product is going to be fibre. So in half a sachet, you're going to be getting 5 grams of fibre, which is amazing. Plus, if you're adding any fruits as well, that's even more. For women, we're aiming for 25 grams of fibre per day, men aiming for 30 grams. So this is a really good option, actually. And mixing it, any milk would be fine. I would try and get you to get something that's got a decent serve of protein in it, so that you're getting this plus the protein plus fruit if you wanted to add it in as well. You'd probably need it for the texture. You could also add ice. The acai berry powder, I guess, is a good source of antioxidants. So anything that's really rich in colour is going to be a good source of antioxidants as well. And then making it into, I guess, that picture there is what one of those breakfast bowls looks like. I have had this once, and I put the whole packet in by accident, so it was quite thick. Psyllium husk does make things thick, so if you ever mix it into things and you let it stand, if you ever come back to it, you'll find it'll be quite sludgy. So if you make something like this, make sure you have it straight away, and make sure you add plenty of fluid to make sure that the psyllium husk has something to absorb into. But I might have this one tomorrow. I might do a story on it and see how it turns out. I don't have any bananas though, I might have to find something else. Any suggestions? Anyone made this? Give me a suggestion. If I don't have banana, what other fruits I can put with it. Cool. Alright, so I hope that was helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do your breakfast cereals add up? Is there any other ones that you have looked at or haven't looked at that you'd like to check out again? Happy Friday, everyone. Bye.
You don't want to